Welcome to Building Your Education Plan Part 2. In our last presentation, we discussed the reasons why your career choice mattered, how it impacted your major or program and class requirements, and briefly the resources and tools that you had at your disposal as an HCC student. In this video, we will actually demonstrate how you can use those resources to complete your education plan. Before we go further into depth, I do want to take a quick look at the actual education plan template that you will be using for this assignment. You will see that it will have HCC education plan at the top with directions. Complete the information below using the resources that we're going to discuss in this video. You must have completed and typed your education plan, okay? When I say completed, that means all semesters and all classes that are necessary to complete those degree requirements, as well as those transfer requirements. You are also going to mark each term line with the intended term that you plan to take the courses in, whether it's fall of 2022, spring of 2023, summer of 2023, and so forth. Make sure that you also completely include all other coursework, whether it was advanced placement, dual enrollment, or transfer credit. You want to make sure that that is all indicated on your plan in order to receive the full credit for this. A good tip for this particular assignment is to know what the anatomy of a course is. You'll notice here I have ENC 1101, English Composition 1, and then the number 3. This is the course prefix, that ENC. The 1101 is the course number. English Composition 1 is the course title, and 3 is the number of credit hours that the course is. You'll notice you will need these in the example below as you go through and complete this. Make sure that you complete the My Information section. Yes, it's important to have your name and your student ID number. Further, you want to complete what degree you are currently under. Remember, degree is the award that AA, AS, and so on. You'll want to make sure you hit that program there, and then the highest level of degree that you want, whether it's an associate, a bachelor's, a master's, a doctorate. We are also going to be looking at potential transfer universities because each one can be a little different. So make sure you at least have those two indicated on this assignment as well. And you will notice as you further go down, here's your term, here's your course prefix, course number, course title, course credits. You're going to total out everything at the end of that and write down the number in credit hours. Okay. Now, let's talk about putting this in actual practice. One of the first resources we want to use is the advising guide. First, let's go over how to access that advising guide. We are going to come to the HCC homepage and you're going to sign in to your My HCC account. Yours is going to pop up. Under the new area here, you're going to come down and you're going to find Student Information Hub. In the Student Information Hub, you're going to find the Online Learning Hub, the Academic Success Centers, Register for Classes, and finally, Advising Guides. We're going to scroll down to the newest folder. You're going to notice that there are tons of different folders here with different dates. These dates are called catalog years. The importance of these is extreme, actually. It is the difference between you completing the requirements that you need for your degree or not completing them. But for example, the difference between a 2020 and a 2021 catalog year. The 2020-2021 catalog year requires that the civics literacy requirement be met by a class such as Modern American History or American Government. The 2021-2022 catalog year actually requires that you meet that through a class and an exam or some kind of assessment. So you want to make sure that you are following the advising guides for the necessary catalog year that you started coming to college. So if you started in summer of 2022, then you are going to be under the 2022 advising guide. We're going to go ahead and click on the newest one right now. You're going to go down here and find the Associate in Arts because that is the degree that you should be under. You're going to notice that there are tons of different transfer pathways that are offered. If you do not find the one that you necessarily want, that's okay. For the purposes of this assignment, we're actually going to complete it for marketing. So I'm going to come down here to the Marketing Advising Guide. You're going to see here that it says an Associate in Arts and Marketing, 60 credit hours. This has a brief little description. And then suggested semesters, the first semester, second semester, third, first, second. This is just a guideline and is not one you want to reproduce in your education plan. We do not want to see this. So we're going to scroll down to the second page. On this second page, this is actually the Associate in Arts breakdown in the categories. Now, real quick, I'm actually going to pause this and we're going to switch over to a worksheet that I have available. You will also have access to this as well. This is an Associate in Arts, which again, also 60 credit hours with no fewer than 36 credit hours of specified general education requirements and a minimum of 24 credit hours of transferable electives. Okay. So if we look at these general education requirements, we're going to come to the category communications. It's going to say 9 credit hours required. You'll notice that the majority of classes are 3 credit hours. So in other words, I need all 3 of these classes: English Composition 1, English Composition 2, and Public Speaking. If I were you, I would take a second, pause the video, and write the number 3 on the side so that you know you have to have all 3 of these classes. Now let's move on to the humanities section. The humanities section indicates that we need 6 credit hours. If we look here, we also need 1 of these courses from the SC or the state core options. State core just means that we're a well-rounded individual. So in other words, we need 1 class from any one of these in here, and then 1 from down here. Again, I would take a pause and write the number 1 on the side here and write 1 down here. Now, if you don't like any down here, you can take 2 up here. Moving on to mathematics. Notice that the mathematics side also says 6 credit hours required. Now this can fluctuate based on the degree that you want to go for, but we do need a total of 2 at least. So please write the number 2 on the side. Moving on to social sciences, you'll also see here that 9 credit hours are required as well. So you'll notice down here that there's a behavioral science subcategory, a history and political science subcategory, and a social science general subcategory as well. Here, you'll want to write the number 1. You need 1 from this behavioral science, and then 1 from this history science, social science, and then 1 from the hodgepodge of classes down here. We are going to come back to this history section in a little bit. Now, moving on to our natural sciences. With our natural sciences, you'll see that there is a biological science and a physical science. You need 1 biological science and 1 physical science. You also need 1 that is a state core. So much like those humanities had that weird state core option, your sciences do as well. So make sure that you're picking a state core from here or from here. Now, because sciences have to be a little complicated, we also have to have 1 that has a separate lab. I am a visual person, so I like to use the word and lab. So I personally would write and lab in the side here. Now you'll notice this class, for example, this biological foundations and biological foundations lab here. This one will actually take care of my biological science, my state core component, and that extra lab component. So those are things to keep in mind as you go through and complete this education plan. Further, our sciences, much like our math, can really be determined on what program or major we are going for. An English major is going to be very different from an engineering major, remember. Now, moving on to our elective requirements. Those are the 24 credit hours of electives that we get to pick and choose. Now, there are some courses that are required to complete. One of those is this first year experience course. Another one is the capstone course. This is a graduation class that happens after you have earned, aka your grades have posted 45 credit hours towards your associate in arts degree. It's a 1 credit hour class. Typically, this is seen at the end of your education plan. Now, let's tackle that civics literacy competency requirement that I mentioned earlier. So again, if you are under the 2021 catalog year, this is a requirement for you. You will have to have a class, whether it's through AP or the CLEP, or having actually taken Modern American History or American Government. And then you will also have to have a score, a passing score, on one of the assessments below. Most of you might end up taking the Florida Civics Literacy exam or have already taken that in high school. If you have any concerns about this, please come talk to an advisor. You'll also notice that this American Government or Modern American History was also found in our History Social Science category. This is where you can actually have the 2 birds, 1 stone kind of deal, where if you take Modern American History or American Government, you meet the civics literacy class requirement. I would take a moment and take a highlighter to highlight Modern American History and American Government, and then come down and highlight the civics literacy competency header. Okay, moving on to the computer proficiency. Everybody has to have one type of computer class. There are other ways to meet this, but there's also the CGS 2100 course, which is intended for most majors. Unless you are majoring in any computer-related field, then you would only do the CGS 1000. Again, CGS 1000 is for computer-related majors. Everyone else should be taking CGS 2100. And then last but not least, we have to make sure that our foreign language competency has been met. Typically, you can meet this with high school credit as long as you've taken 2 credits and 1 foreign language at the high school level, or you successfully completed level 1 and level 2, or a CLEP as well. Now, typically, after all of those electives have been met, you have about 16 credit hours in actual electives that you can pick and choose from. This is where knowing what we want to do, aka marketing, is going to become very helpful for us. So now we want to take just a quick look at that advising guide for marketing. We're going to come to this 3rd page. You'll notice here it says prerequisite classes, suggested general education courses, and suggested electives. There's also a few in the back here that are even more. So how do we know which ones we should actually be taking? Well, that's where we start to look at the university that we want to go to. So for me, I want to go to USF, the home of the Bulls. So as we look at USF's homepage, one thing to kind of keep in mind as we're navigating a lot of the university homepages is how to actually find their majors. So for this one, we're going to come here to University of South Florida, and we're going to click on academics and undergraduate majors. Undergraduate majors are associate degrees or bachelor's degrees. Now, some university websites are a little easier to navigate than others. I find that USF's is pretty easy to navigate. We're going to come down here to Programs, A to Z, and click on that. And then you're going to go over to Marketing, or M, and then we're going to find Marketing. You'll notice that there are things like concentrations here. You will not have to worry about that while you are at HCC. It's something to keep in mind, though, for when you move on to your higher level courses. But for now, let's look at Marketing. It gives a full explanation of what marketing does, as well as how the program gets you ready. Now, the important thing with marketing is to notice that it's limited access. Okay, that means that we have to meet these admission guidelines. So 60 semester hours of credit hours earned, plus side, our AA degree, a cumulative grade point average of a 2.5. Now, this is just the posted one. I always encourage you to aim higher. And then completion of all state mandated prerequisite courses with a C or higher. Notice here we have financial accounting, ACG X021 or ACG X022, and so on and so forth. Notice the X for the course number, right? That X usually means that it can be a 1,000 level, a 2,000 level, a 3,000 level, a 4,000 level. They don't really care. Here's also managerial accounting, same deal. Here's your computers in business, same. Principles of macroeconomics, principles of microeconomics, elementary calculus, and statistics. And again, they have multiple ones that can meet multiple areas. So how do we know which courses at USF overlap with what HCC offers? So let's go take a quick look at that advising guide again. We're going to come up here and we're going to let's start with the math. So here first, we're going to see the statistics. They wanted elementary statistics. So we've got elementary statistics here. Here's our course prefix, STA, and here's our course number, 2023. Theirs is, out of them, STA X023. Remember that X means that it could be a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4. So our 2023 is perfect for this. So that's how we would kind of go through and complete this. Now, let's go one final place before we start really building our education plan out. We are going to go to the HCC catalog. It's really easy to get there. You go to menu from the home page and you go to academics and go to catalogs. Why is this important? Typically, it helps us find exactly how to get what prerequisites or classes we need before we can take others. So we're going to look at the entire catalog. Now, we know that, for example, elementary calculus is required. MAC X233 is required. Now, for HCC, ours is MAC 2233C, and that's fine. We're going to do Control F real quick and type that in. You'll notice that there's 14 occurrences. Cheat sheet. I like to jump back real quick. Here's calculus for business. Here's everything that's in it. And then here's our prerequisite, MAC 1105. So I know that I need to have completed MAC 1105 before I can go into this class. Well, what is MAC 1105? If we scroll up a little bit or type it into the search engine, we will find that it is skipped entirely. MAC 1105 is college algebra. And then our prerequisite is intermediate algebra, MAT 1033. If we go back and find MAT 1033, that's intermediate algebra. Now, how do we know how to map all of this stuff out now on our actual education plan? Well, let's take a quick look. Okay, so back over to our actual education plan. So let's start filling this in first. First of all, let's fill in my name, my student ID number. Hopefully you will have a student ID number. Remember, it is 7 digits. My current degree is an Associate in Arts, so an AA. My program is going to be marketing. The highest level of a degree that I want is a bachelor's degree. And then for me, I'm going to look at USF, and my backup will be UCF. So we're going to scroll down and go ahead to our first term. So the term that I'm going to be entering is the summer 2022 term. What am I currently in right now? I am currently in the first year experience course. So SLS is the prefix 1106, and the course title is the first year orientation experience course. And it is 3 credit hours. If you do have any questions or concerns about all of that beautiful info, you can go back to the advising guide real quick. And then you should see it on the second page. There it is. Now, back to my template. And then I am also in English Composition 1. So ENC 1101, English Composition. And that is also 3 credit hours. Now, I personally would go back to your education, to your advising guide, and I would mark a little X right here to let me know that I've already put this down on my education plan and I don't need to worry about it further. Now that we have what we are already in, because I'm only taking 2 classes for the summer semester, this is when we talk about balance, that the first year experience course typically has a little more project-based information, and it's not so heavy with the reading and the writing like English Composition 1 is. So I want to make sure that I'm balancing those so that I can balance my time, because maybe I work part-time or I work full-time. So let's go ahead and add that up and put 6 there. Now for our fall term, because that's the next one that comes up, is the fall term. For our fall, why don't we go ahead and go from English Comp 1 and go into English Comp 2? Because for this one, I know that I need 1 before I can move on to 2. Now, with my math, we've already gone through that college catalog and we decided that I need intermediate algebra. And when I met with the advisor, they mentioned that as one of the courses. So 33, intermediate algebra. Now, how can you establish if you are what we consider college level in placement? Well, if you are in intermediate algebra, if you are in topics in mathematics, or if you are in explorations in mathematics or statistics, then you are eligible for college level classes. So for example, here is topics in mathematics. Here is explorations in mathematics, and there's statistics. Notice that intermediate algebra is not on here. So anytime that there's a class that is not on this general education side, I'm going to scroll down to my electives, and I'm going to put in MAT 1033, and that is worth 4 credit hours. So I now, out of my 16 credit hours, that's already 4 credit hours out. I only have 12 credit hours left. Now, let's go back to my education plan. Actually, let's take a quick look at the advising guide. So I've got my English Comp 2 down now. I've got a math down now. Now, let's maybe go to my history requirement. English Composition 2 typically is a lot more reading and writing. So I already kind of know that. I'm going to come down to my history requirement and let me go ahead and take maybe American government. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and mark an X there because that's the class that I want to take to meet my history requirement and my civics literacy requirement. So when I come back to my education plan for the fall, I'm going to come over here for my fall term. I'm going to put POS 2041 American government. And that is also 3 credit hours. Now, a full-time semester is typically 4 classes. So, and that's how we kind of get that degree done in that 2-year time frame. So I still need 1 more class. Now, I already know that this is reading, writing intensive. This is mathy. And American government is also going to be a little more reading intensive. I want something that I still need, but may not be as reading intensive or mathy. So let's look at what degree requirements we still have left by flipping back to that associate in arts degree. So I've got my communication section kind of almost done, public speaking, but because that is under the communication section, I am going to assume that is also still a lot of reading and public speaking. Our humanities, with those ones, tends to also be a lot of reading and writing, so I might stay away from those for right now. Our math, I'm already in a math, and I have to take those ones in sequence as we saw, because I need intermediate algebra before college algebra, before calculus for business. Our social sciences, I'm already taking one of those. I'm going to take a break from that. I could do a biological science. So, for example, I'm going to go ahead and take this bio foundations. Let me go ahead and put an X by those real quick. So that way I know that that's the course I want to do. Because the plus side is marketing does not care what I do in my sciences. Now, I remember that I'm going to take care of this biological foundations, and it's going to take care of my biological science, my state core option, and my lab option. So when I jump back over to my template, I'm going to jump down here, and I'm going to type in BSc 1005 Biological Foundations, and that's 3 credit hours. And then L, Biological Foundations Lab, and that's 1 credit hour. So that's actually going to be a total of 14 credit hours for me because intermediate algebra and then the lab. Okay. Alternatively, you could continue going through the list and notice that there's still that computer class, the CGS 2100, because remember, you're not a computer major if you're a marketing major. Now, let's go on to my spring 2023 term. Going to go to the next little box and figure out what I still have left. Let's actually go back to this math real quick. Okay, I know that I took intermediate algebra because I need to get to college algebra. So I know the next math in my sequence is going to be college algebra. Now, let's jump back over to that advising guide real quick. Because 1, my math, I've already started now, one of them. I've got college algebra knocked down. Now, let's continue on. I still have public speaking left. I still have humanities courses left, and I still have social science courses left. Now, here's an interesting thing that I can do as a marketing major. Notice that there is a principle of macroeconomics here. Okay. If I go all the way back to USF's homepage, and by that, I really just mean that I'm going directly to the thing I already have open, I'm going to notice that they have principles of macroeconomics as well. ECO X013. Remember that X just means a 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, look at that. Eco 2013. It counts as a social science and it counts as a business prereq. So why don't I go ahead and knock that out in my education plan? And again, remember, we're aiming for 4 classes for the spring session. Oh my gosh. There's that one. And I can come back here to my advising guide. And I have that. So I'm going to go ahead and mark that down here. Okay. I've almost got all of my social sciences done, so I won't touch that one yet. I've almost got my science done too. I can take a physical science if I want to, or I could do more in my credit hours, in my electives, because I still have elective space left, and I need 2 more classes for the spring semester. Now, where am I pulling those electives from? I'm pulling those electives again from USF. So let's go back to them. Financial accounting, ACG X021. Okay, I want to do that one. So let's add that on there. Again, we can go to the advising guide just to make sure here. Ours is ACG 2021, financial accounting. And we're not going to find that on the front of the advising guide. So that is an elective. So we're going to come back to the education plan template. And we're going to type in here ACG 2021 financial accounting, 3 credit hours. And on my advising guide, I'm going to make sure that I also account for that. I want to be mapping these things out because it's going to help me figure out how many classes I really need in this elective category. There's that financial accounting class. And then why don't I at this point go ahead and take that computer class? We're going to do the CGS 2100. And that way I can kind of balance out that semester with something that is more project-based and not as reading or mathy based. And then you'll see here that is now 12 credit hours. And then we're back to a summer semester. And remember, summer is typically only 2 classes. So let me jump back over to my advising guide. Well, I've got the computer class knocked out, so that's good. I've got almost all my social science still knocked out. Well, here, in the communication section, I still need public speaking. So let's finally put public speaking in the summer semester. And that way, all my communication section will be done as of summer 2023. And then I haven't even started a humanities class, so let me go ahead and start the humanities. Now, in the college catalog, you can find out about what each of these courses are. I'm just going to go with Introduction to Literature for right now, because I like things that are going to be a little more writing intensive. And then we're going to jump back over to our education plan and go ahead and write in here SPC 1608, public speaking. That's also 3 credit hours. And then LIP 2000, Introduction to Literature. Now, this one has special topics, so I picked the one about Harry Potter. Now, that again is humanities. It doesn't really matter what you want to do according to business because they only cared about those very specific classes, right? We saw that on their website. So We can choose whichever humanities we want, something that will either potentially benefit us in that or something that will keep us interested. And then we're going to put here that that is 6 credit hours. And then you continue on to your fall term again, fall of 2023, so on and so forth, until you have marked off everything on that advising guide, including in all those elective courses that are going to be necessary for you as well. So as we go through this, make sure that you eventually have your X's done, your physical science, your behavioral sciences, and those social sciences mapped out here. Like eventually ACG 2071, statistics, and microeconomics. And where did I get all of those from? Remember, I went to the source and I found them all right here. Statistics, micro, managerial accounting. Okay. And all of those add up to 24 in total credit hours. So that way I don't have any room for basket weaving 101 or anything like that. I have to make sure that I'm sticking on top of the courses that I need for my degree. Now, if you are not sure where you want to go, Florida Shines is a really good option to look at. It's floridashines.org. You can go to school and explore institutions or discover particular programs. This allows you to search for different kind of programs and what their requirements are. So for example, say I want to go to Daytona State College and I want to go for, let's find, baking and pastry arts. Why not? That actually sounds really good to me. Oh, so you might get redirected, but look here, please refer to the programs of study at Daytona State College. If that happens, they've already linked you to where you need to go. Otherwise, they will actually pull it up for you as well. Let's try a different one. Let's try FIU. And we'll do an accounting. And see here, you'll see that they require the first year experience course, okay, English composition, and they will even give you select from ENC 1101, ENC 1102. First year experience course, I believe here they have an SLS 1501. That is probably theirs. So SLS 1106 works for us as well. It's first year experience course. Their humanities, they'll suggest ones from multiple down here. You'll notice that ARH 2000, Hum 1020, Lit 1000, MUL 1010, 2010, Philosophy and the Theater course are actually all courses that HCC offers. Real quick, in our humanities section, ARH, ours is 1000, theirs is 2000, that's okay. Notice the humanities class, 1020, Lit 2000, theirs was Lit 1000, that's fine. Introduction to Music, MEL 1010, Introduction to Philosophy, theirs was 2010, ours is 1010, that is completely fine. So you'll notice that a lot of these courses do overlap as well. So again, Florida Shines is a very good resource for you as well if you're not sure where you want to go at all. Last but not least, again, remember the college catalog and how to access that. not only for making sure that you're meeting the requirements of your degree, but making sure that you're taking, for example, English Comp 1 before English Comp 2, or college algebra before calculus for business. I hope everybody had a good time and had all their questions answered in the workshop module. If not, you are most certainly welcome to stop by and meet with an academic advisor. We do encourage you to come with as much of a completed education plan as possible using this resource video and the different resources that we've reviewed in this video as well. And an academic advisor can assist you from there. I hope you have a good day.